Okay, so I'm going to start on the calendar because this is something I do every single time we come to class. We always start on the calendar. Welcome, you can find a spot. Um, you'll notice here that I have our schedule out here. Yes, I didn't take off the 20th. I just kind of started on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays and put them in there. And we know that we're actually starting today. But we're going to be meeting, and I'll always be recording from this room, I-204 from 5:30 till 9:30. Okay. And then on Fridays, we are going to be virtually live. So that means I'm going to be recording from my home from 5:30 till about 7:20, 7:30. Okay. How I plan on structuring, and it may not work perfectly all the time. Okay. Like a short week like this, we'll kind of see how far we get. But I'm gonna try as hard as I can to always have Fridays as if you would, I'm gonna say in quotes, a work day, an independent work day for you to have me available virtually to answer any questions or work through problems that you might have. So for instance, if we have some assignments and you're like, I really tried that one, I couldn't get it going, I'll demonstrate whatever you want during those open lab times, okay? So that's a good time to get those questions answered. So content kind of in the longer sessions during the week here on Mondays and Wednesdays, but then I'm going to try to do work days. Again, I don't know if it's going to work perfectly all the time. So I'll always let you know Wednesday for sure what Friday looks like. Okay. And then in the event that you can't make it, as I said earlier, I'll always be recording the lectures, so you'll have the responsibility of catching yourself up and watching the full lecture or whatever you missed so that the next time that we meet, you can be kind of on task with where we're at, okay? So you'll notice that as we look here, this is kind of the start of January, we go until about the middle of March. Officially on the calendar, our last day is the 12th. We technically aren't scheduled on the 14th, but we'll kind of see what that looks like. I'll probably have some assignments out there still available to hand in at the end of the week, and we'll kind of see how that works. Additionally, you're going to notice I don't have all the assignments populated just yet, but my planned due date for assignment is going to be on Friday, and we'll talk about what that means and how that works. So don't worry if Fridays aren't a nice day for you. I've got a solution or flexibility built in. So calendar, make sure that you can look at the calendar, that you know where it's at, because this is going to be a place where I post really where the assignments are, and you'll always know where the due dates are. So I'm going to go into our course, Technical Statics. And you're going to notice when you come into Canvas that it's going to be kind of like your welcome page. And then the most recent announcements are going to be here. So I think the last two announcements I had were just the reminders. I just would feel terrible if somebody would have come on Monday and been like, I didn't know. So I was kind of pestering you a little bit. I promise I won't be doing that anymore as the semester goes on. But here was kind of that welcome message. And if you wanted to kind of poke around, was not required at all. You may have seen some of the elements that are here. So I'm going to go over to the syllabus on the left-hand side here, and we're going to kind of go through how the class is going to be structured and run. So just kind of sit back. You can kind of watch here. It's always available for you in PDF form. I didn't make any copies because a lot of times students can just come back to Canvas here and reference what we have. So I'm just going to zoom in just a little bit so it's large enough on the screen for you guys. So on the top here, you're going to notice that it kind of gives you the boilerplate information. It gives us our course number, how many credits. It's a 3-credit class. It's 80 hours that we're going to be meeting physically. It's here in spring 1 and the year is 2025. This is considered a face-to-face / hybrid mode. So you know that you have times when we're here on campus, but then also that we're going to be scheduled to be virtual. Now, whenever we have lectures, you are going to have the flexibility to either be virtually live, as some of the students here are taking advantage of today, or physically in the room. You get to choose. There's a couple days that'll come up. We're going to have a midterm and a final. Those days, everybody has to come to campus, okay? I don't have those on the schedule just yet, but as they get closer, I'll have a better idea. It's just kind of hard for me to know, is it going to be a Monday or a Wednesday? But you'll know at least 2 weeks ahead of time when those dates are going to be. So you could choose to be completely virtual on the days that you can be, or you can be always here on campus, or you can, decide what to do where. You don't have to tell me. Okay, so your attendance, I'll be grabbing from, looking at the virtual live people as well as who's here in the classroom, and you're considered in attendance by one or the other, okay, at any given time. So you can choose what works best for you. So the dates that we have here, Mondays and Wednesdays, and it's going to be from 5:30. Oh, not 9:50. It's till 9:20. That's a mistype on my end. Last year we were till 9:50, but this year it's 9:20, 9:30. It's correct on like the Canvas or like the whatever it is that you guys get on the official announcement. And that's what I'm planning. So about 9:30. Fridays is only till 7:20 or about 7:30. Okay, so just 2 hours on Friday. And again, I'm going to try my hardest to always make that an independent work time. And it's going to be an optional day. But again, we'll know on Wednesdays what Friday looks like. Here in statics, we're going to be covering a lot of important information. Statics is really, I like to say, the start of all of the design stuff. The things that we learn here in statics, you are going to be doing in strength and materials and machine elements and in other courses as we go along in dynamics. There's going to be things in kinematics that we're going to hit. So it's foundational to the work that you're going to continue to do. So it's a really important class. So we're going to be looking at forces, equilibrium. We're going to be looking at trusses, frames, machines, different types of loads, centroids, moments of inertia, friction. So we cover a lot of ground in the time that we're together. So we'll be moving along relatively quickly. It says here there's going to be extensive application of computer programming. I don't know if I like the word extensive. That's part of the course description. There's I'm going to say some, okay? It's not crazy. There's going to be some. There is a prerequisite of computer programming for this particular class, and that computer programming, everybody should have had it, whether you were with me or if you were with Ryan, I think was the other person who did it. And that's really just learning Excel and getting comfortable with that and using it as a tool to do problems that we have here. So when we talk about computer programming in statics, that's the primary tool that we're going to be using, mostly as, if you would, I'm going to say in quotes, calculators, okay? And I'll be helping you or guiding you through how to do that or what would be required. So again, my name is Kelly Riba. You can contact me at my email here, kriba@wctc.edu. But you can also text or call me on the phone that I have here. That's going to be my mobile phone. So just if it's the first time that you're texting me, I'll kind of put you in as a contact as long as you don't mind me doing that in my phone. And just let me know who you are so that if you are asking a question, then I know. The fastest ways to communicate with me are indeed email and or text. This term, I'm only teaching night classes. So in the evening, on any night that that you don't have me, I'm teaching another class. So if you're working on homework in the evening and I don't get back to you right away, it's because I'm in a different class. All right. I teach dynamics on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the evening. So I actually don't have any day classes this term. I only have night classes on each night of the week here. So again, it's not going to be that I'm ever ignoring you. Just I'll get back to you within, it says like 24 hours or sooner. If you don't hear from me, just feel free to give me a gentle reminder, like, did you catch it? Because as you know, like sometimes you get a text message and you see it and you might even open it to read it, but then you just don't have the time to get back to it. And then it kind of falls down on your email. And it's not that you forget, but you kind of forget. So that happens. So just gently remind me if you feel like you need an answer sooner than later. I'm happy to help you. The Zoom link. I will show you where that Zoom link is. It's actually on the left-hand panel in Canvas for you to get into the Zoom class when and if you would choose to be virtual, okay? I encourage everybody to do it at least a couple times. Our Friday class, and it may be required at a time or 2 or 3. You're going to want to be able to practice that and have that available because we are during this time of year. It's January. Sometimes the weather can be kind of crappy, especially, at night. And so it's nice for the option for you if you don't feel comfortable driving to class or just, you're home and you don't have to worry about going out. That's an option of attending. I don't plan on it. I've always planned on coming, but if I feel like I think it's better if I stay home, I may contact you earlier in the day to say, we're going to be virtual tonight. And so just be aware of that. So it's always important to check your email before coming to class, you know, for any night class that you have, because we never really know if something like that can happen. I can also maybe be sick, and I would always send you an announcement as early as possible in the day. So always check before coming to WCTC. We're in the I building here. And office hours. I don't have any office hours posted, if you would, but I am always happy to meet with you at a time that we can kind of figure out is mutual between the two of us. So I just have here by appointment, and that can be via Zoom or physically meeting on campus. And for class always works as well too, because I usually am here early. All right. So what are we going to learn this class? I kind of, read a little bit of the description, and I'm not going to read each and every one of these things, but basically it's a math application of vectors. Okay. And it's really surrounded around identifying what are the forces, external forces that are going to be present on any body, any part that we're interested in designing. It's the first steps in kind of the design process. Okay. So, so the things that we're going to be covering here, we're going to be, looking at vectors. We're going to be, figuring out equilibrium and solving for unknown variables, friction, as we said earlier, trusses, those types of things. Now, at WCTC, as you kind of work your way through a program, there are 4 critical life skills that we kind of make sure we kind of place in all of our courses or throughout the program. Some courses might only have 1 or 2 critical life skills that are going to be assessed or looked at or practiced. And then others have more. In this class, we end up having like all 4 of the critical life skills. For instance, communication. When you do statics, you're gonna have to kind of write out your work and do the math and be able to communicate with me in a written form how to go through the process and solve a problem. Critical thinking, problem solving, that's like engineering all over. You have a number of variables that come in, you have to solve a problem, or you have to figure out, an unknown. So you go through that process, multi-step process to get there. Relationships, I encourage you, even if you're virtual, I encourage you to kind of reach out and work together. Meaning, I don't mind if you guys work in teams or if you work in groups to get homework done, as long as there's no cheating going on. And we kind of all know that fine line. And we'll talk a little bit about cheating a little bit later in the syllabus. But developing those relationships, when you get out into the work world, you're going to be working together with people in your department, with people on teams. So really kind of practicing that and getting comfortable with that is a good thing to do while you're here in the classroom or in the program. And then self-management. This is really about making sure that you're leaving yourself enough time to get things done, by a deadline. So kind of having that in kind of in the background. Program outcomes. So that was kind of college overall, WCTC, critical life skills. But then at the program level, we have goals that we have to achieve for you, or different things that we need you to know before you graduate. Or when we say you graduate, we say, well, you've done these things. So, so in here, you're going to be applying some knowledge, technical skills, and modern tools to define engineering technology activities. You're going to be applying knowledge of science, mathematics, engineering, and technology. For problems that require limited application of principles with an extensive practical knowledge. Identify, analyze, solve, and narrowly define engineering technology programs. So you're going to kind of be given a broad spectrum of what's going on. You have to pick out the things that are important to get to the answer that you desire. And then also demonstrate a commitment to quality, timeliness, and continuous improvement. That one, I'm going to tell you, in statics, I'm kind of picky about work that you hand in, and we'll continue to reinforce this and talk about it. I'm going to give you examples of what I'm expecting to come in. But part of, even back up here where we talked about a communication skill, written communication, is when you're writing things out, making sure that it's in a neat, orderly fashion so that when you get out in industry, you may have to prove, how you got something. You have to show or have somebody else check your work before proceeding to the next step. So, so again, practicing those things, making sure that you're, able to do something in a neat, orderly, and a quality fashion. External standards. In this class, there aren't any formal external standards. I'm assuming most of you have taken technical drafting. Is that what it's called? The first drafting class, technical drafting, right? And then probably the first CAD class, the SolidWorks class, right? And in there, we use the ANSI standard, the dimensioning standard. There isn't a standard in here like that. So we won't be, using that. So that's why it says none. Now, technology, what you are going to need in this class, especially on Fridays, you're going to need to have access to a computer or a laptop that can connect to a high-speed internet connection with webcam capabilities for those virtually live Zoom meetings that we're going to do. The mechanical design lab here is going to have the software that you need to complete any work that we do, during class. But you will need access to that Zoom connection off campus on the days that we're not here. I also want you to have a working webcam. And in the past, I haven't required that, or I let you not put that on, but I'm kind of switching my tune on that a little bit. So if you have had me before, this is something that's a little new. I do want to have, sometimes I would get the sense when people would just have their little, circle body, on there and their name was there. They were there, but again, I'm not making assumptions that people aren't following along, but you didn't feel part of the group, or it didn't feel like those people were part of what we, have going on here. So I want, to continue to give the flexibility of the virtual option, but I also want to make sure that everybody, whether you're physically here or virtually here, that you feel like you're part of the group, and that, and then I have confidence that, it always means a lot more when I can see somebody as we're working, or if I ask a question. So I'll let you know. There'll be times when you can turn your cameras on and off, but there'll be other times where I'm going to ask you to put them on. So just have that available and have that working. A scientific calculator, and I'm not going to dictate what it is. Whatever you've been using in your math classes or your physics class, that's going to work perfectly fine. Sine, cosine, tangent, some of those powers, the log, that kind of stuff is all that we need. And then it's never a bad idea to have a flash drive, because at times there will be some files that you're going to want to save and or back up, so that you can reference them or have them available to go from one place to another. Technology related skills, really just a solid understanding. And you're at, traditionally you're probably at about a year or about a semester under your belt. So you've had some Canvas classes, you've been here on campus, all of your classes, work through Canvas. So navigating Canvas, having the ability to navigate and feel comfortable using Zoom. You don't have to get crazy with Zoom. I don't even go into chat rooms or anything like that. I mean, it's really kind of like just here. I use it so that people can ask questions, whether it's in the chat or audibly. And then Word and Excel are going to be your friends as well. Okay. Now, how can I get help with technology? So we do have a wonderful help desk here at WCTC. They're located over across from the library, if anybody has kind of poked around campus. So if you go past the hub, kind of through the hub, through kind of that central area, the kind of the round area, and then keep going, the library, the bookstore, and the help desk are all in that area. Students have gone over there when they tried to download software, even SolidWorks, AutoCAD, those types of things. And they can help with that because they service all the computers here. And they usually have some good insights if you're having issues with software. If you have any questions about Canvas, or it's not working, or any of the applications that are maybe not working appropriately, but you need them to complete your work. So truly, don't hesitate to reach out to them for any insights and any help that they can give you. So whether it's here on campus or if it's your own computer at home. Additionally, they have an email that you can send them. And then also there is a technology resource page here, because sometimes it might be like, crap, how do I reset my password? And so on there, it'll kind of walk you through that without even having to wait for them. So they've got some good stuff out there. So check that out if you need to. Usually the syllabus, you're interested in how am I going to be graded? So this is that section. So you are going to have some module assignments. The module assignments kind of coincide with the weeks. I think I have 7 modules planned. We have 8 weeks. We've got those 2, if you would, a midterm and a final test. So we'll be working through and having things to do every single week. So there's going to be practice problems for each one of those modules, and there's going to be application problems. So let's talk about those. The practice problems are worth 20% of your grade. These are going to be done during our lecture slash demo. Okay, so during class, I'm not just going to talk to you like I am now. It's mostly going to be, we're going to be working through problems that are going to mimic what your application problems will be. And so what I have you do is I ask you guys, and the practice problems are you working through those with me, understanding the format, making sure you're getting the same answers, and you're handing those in. It's kind of like you're giving me the notes that you took. And I only check those for completion and formatting. And what they do is they give you that experience, number one, of doing problems on the same type of like the same type of things that we're going to be looking at for the application problems. Too often you might look at what I'm doing, and if you don't take any notes, you're like, yeah, I get it. But then you get to the problems that are assigned. It's like, okay, blank piece of paper, where do I start? So my practice problems, my lecture demos, I don't like saying that. I'm just going to be talking to you. They're active lectures where you're going to be writing through and writing down the problems and the things that we're going to be practicing that lead you to then getting comfortable with what's going to be on the application problems. So 20% of your grade. Again, they're going to be marked for completion. They are worth 10 points each. So you either get 10 points or you get 0 points. All right. And basically I go through, I look at them, I make sure they're neat, they're following the format that I told you needed to have them in, and that they're all there. Okay. So it's just kind of like, if you would, showing me your notes. If there's any more than one or two small things that you did, and I'll always note those as I go through. But if there's like 3, 4, 5 things that you missed, that's a 0. So it's 10 points or it's 0 points. Okay. So it's a way for me to just make sure that you're, staying on task during our lecture, but then also getting good things that you can use, not only for application problems, but for the test later on, which we'll talk about. That the practice problems you can only hand in once. Okay. You can't make corrections to those. So it's a 0 or a 10. All right. And so the one time that you hand them in, you get the grade that's there. Application problems. Application problems are going to be worth 40% of your grade. I like to think of those as your homework assignments, if you would. So the application problems are going to be similar to the practice problems that we did. So I never do anything in class that isn't going to make sense for you to do in your application problems and or be tested on. Okay. So 40%. Now these you get 2 attempts on. Okay. You get an initial submission and you get 1 chance for corrections to earn those points back. Now, I do have a late work policy. What I'm going to call it is a grace period policy. And we'll talk about in terms of practice problems and application problems when we get there in just a little bit. So know that there is the opportunity for corrections on application problems for you to raise your grade. And I always encourage you to do that. I think you can learn a lot from that process. So know that that's available. Then the last thing that your grade is going to be comprised of is going to be the midterm and the final exam. So 2 tests in here throughout, so about in the middle-ish, and then 1 at the end. That's where those 2 are worth 40% of your grade total. So the same amount as your application problems. And that's going to be an open book, open practice problems, open application problems. So if you do neat, orderly work and you can follow what you did, the midterm and the final exam should be easy for you to go through. I like to say any test that I give, you shouldn't be surprised at. They're going to be a version of something that you've already seen and practiced in the application problems and or the practice problems. So I actually, if you feel this way ever, please let me know. But you shouldn't feel in any test that I ever give you that anything is unfamiliar on that test. Okay. I'm not going to come out of left field with a problem. I've had classes and instructors where that happened more than once. And I never enjoyed walking out of class and feeling like I totally missed the boat, wow. So my goal is always that I'm very upfront with what I have. If I'm doing something in class with you guys, it is important for you to know for the test. Because some students will ask what's on the test? Anything that we've been working on, it's all there. Okay. So open book, open note, practice problems and application problems, closed book though. Okay. and closed computers. And then those are going to be one attempt each as well. Okay. But by the time we've done practice problems, application problems, you've gotten to do corrections, you'll feel ready. Yes.
For the time, is we doing it in person?
Yes, thank you for asking that. So for the midterm and the final exam, they will be in person here. So those who are virtual, I will have them on the calendar. They aren't on the calendar just yet. Again, it's hard for me to nail down the day that we're going to take it because I want to make sure that we're, far enough along and that and that you guys are ready for that. So any other questions here so far? Do you have a question? Okay. No. All right. Okay. All right. Then the letter grade is going to go right along with the normal WCTC grading scale. Now, just so that you know, you need to get a C or better in this class to continue in, with the next class in the program, which would be your mechanics and materials, I think it is, or sometimes referred to as strength of materials. So it's the next class. So make sure that you're staying on task and that you're going to be getting a C or better. A C minus doesn't get you to the next class. That doesn't meet the prerequisite. It has to be a C or better. When can you expect feedback? Meaning, when are my assignments going to be corrected? I try to stay on task with that like every single day. Now, it might vary sometimes a day or two or maybe over the weekend, but you're going to see in a little bit, I offer you an opportunity and a time frame for you to make corrections. So I like to get everything corrected and back to you guys like by the end of the day. Like when I go to bed at night, I don't want to have anything to correct. Okay. I can sleep better that way. So at the end of the day, I usually try to have those done for you so that you have feedback within 2 school days. Okay. If you find that I'm forgetting something, I will tell you something about Canvas. I really like Canvas a lot. On my app on my phone, I can actually see like how many things are ungraded. But if I'm on my laptop, I have to physically go into each assignment and see how many are there. So it's kind of weird. I don't know why. I don't get a notification for that. So if indeed I don't have my phone in front of me or I haven't checked it yet, I may not know that an assignment came in. So that's another reason that if you want to text me or if you're wondering, feel free to remind me if you feel like it's a little bit delayed. Let's talk about attendance. How often do you need to be in class? So attendance is required for each class that we have, and I do take the attendance and keep track of it. This can either be in person or virtually live, okay, during our regular times. Again, remember, when we do our exams, those will be in person here on campus. You will need a working webcam if and when you are virtual. Our lecture is a time for you to gain an understanding of the concepts during which that I'm going to be talking about that are going to pertain to your assigned chapters in the textbook. Additionally, I'm going to be performing demonstrations, practice problems. Okay, so you're going to be doing those along with me on exercises that will mimic the assigned module application problems to help you understand the formatting and the work that you're going to be handing in. Okay. Exams will be here on campus. As we said, you're required to be in person. I'll put those on the calendar as they get closer. If you're unable to attend class, and that happens, okay, please notify me via email, not text. Okay. Email is better because now I've got it documented in there and it's kind of an official WCTC communication. Make sure you do it before class starts the day that we have class. So before 5:30, okay? This is considered an excused absence. Even if I don't respond to you, now I've got it date stamped and it's in my email and you know that was before class started. You are allowed one excused absence without penalty. Each additional excused absence will result in 2% off of your overall grade. Okay, so I really want you to be here. I'm telling you, the more that you're here, the more that you're on task with things, the better grade you're going to get. Okay, I don't like to ever guarantee things, but A's or B's all the time. Okay, so not having a working webcam, I have this on here, will result in an excused absence. So that means you're still here, you're here, but you got your little bubble person out there, not your real person. So make sure you have a webcam. If you have to go out and get one and get it working, just let me know. I don't want you to spend a ton of money. I don't think webcams are terribly expensive. You could even have your phone up on your thing and be virtual on your phone, rather than having to be on your computer if that's easier. But I do, again, I don't want it to sound like I'm being nosy, but it just feels more like you're part of the group. That's all. And I think you feel that way too when you have your webcam on. Okay. If you're unable to attend and you do not notify me, that's an unexcused absence. An unexcused absence will result in a 5% reduction off your overall grade. Kind of an expectation like when you get out in industry. You need to let them know if you're not going to be there. And so being responsible about that. You never have to tell me why you're not going to be here. Okay. I'm not going to ever ask you. That is none of my business. It's just following up and being professional about not being able to be here. That's all. Okay. I will be recording our lectures and posting the link on the Canvas course after our course is done. It is expected that if you do not attend a class meeting, that you watch that entire lecture recording and work the practice problems before the next class. In statics, if there's any other class, in statics, we build. What we do in the first time that we meet, we're gonna continue to revisit that, that the 10th time that we meet. And so it's really important that you don't miss it, that if you have to miss a class, go back to that lecture. And students find that really helpful. I find it helpful for you too, because I can confidently say, okay, watch the lecture and you're going to be all caught up by the time you're done going through that. And you can be confident too. In the past, when I didn't do that, I've been teaching for a while. And I didn't have the recordings for students. You would kind of sit down, kind of show them a couple things. You never spent the full hour and a half, 2 hours that you lectured, right? And so there was always kind of missing pieces there. So for that reason alone, I really like the recordings. And then they're there for you to go back to if you ever need to. So if you were, working the practice problems and you realize, ooh, I missed this one part, I don't remember what you did, you can, go along in the video and kind of move it to where you need to and review anything that you might feel you have missed. Any questions about attendance? Okay. Late work. Can you submit assignments late or after the due date? The answer is yes. I pick the due date of Fridays just because they're at the end of the week. They're a Friday. All of my classes, everything is due on Fridays. It's easy for somebody a little older to remember. So I call those your set due dates. Now, you will be able to hand in practice problems and application problems 7 days after that set due date. So you get 1 full week, and I call it the 7-day grace period for you to hand in practice problems and application problems for full credit. Okay. Practice problems, you get 1 attempt before the 7-day grace period expires. For practice problems, we're going to go down here a little bit further. You don't get an extension to hand in after that 7-day grace period expires. So during the 7-day grace period, remember, practice problems are the ones I go through fully in class. You just have to hand those in to kind of show me that you followed along if you would. But then also it sets you up for the application problems. And as long as you hand those in within 7 days or 1 week after that original due date, you get full credit for those practice problems. So what I would find in the past, before I had this policy, if you would, I would have a set due date, and I would say, then after the due date, you get half credit or something, whatever it was. And inevitably, I'd have a due date, and somebody would ask, could I have an extra day? Could I have an extra 2 days? Could I have over the weekend? And I always said yes. I didn't say no. I mean, I'd rather you take a little bit of extra time. So instead of me having to try to figure out, okay, who did I give credit to or keep track of that, I just give everybody gets 7 days. You just get 7 days. If Friday's not a good day for you to hand it in and Saturday or Sunday or Monday is better, so be it. Okay, then take it. Now, so practice problems, 7-day grace period, hand in full credit. After it expires though, practice problems go to 0. Those are your 10.20% of your grade problems, okay? So those go to 0. Module application problems, I'm going to say homework problems, homework assignments, okay? This is where you're going to get 2 attempts. So you get the initial and you get a chance for corrections 1 time, okay? But that all has both have to be within the 7-day grace period. So you do your first attempt close to the due date, right? I correct it. There might be a couple points that you can earn back. As long as you get those corrected before that 7-day grace period expires, you're good. Okay. And you can earn all those points back. If you hand in though, at the very end, your first submission at the very end of the grace period. So like, for instance, the following Friday you hand in, no guarantee on corrections, because that's just gonna depend on if I have the availability to get it done for you. Okay. So just know that if you try to sneak it in, don't be like, oh, I should get corrections because I already got, no. It's within the 7-day grace period. So still getting as close to that due date or on the set due date is going to work to your advantage. Okay. Now you can still hand in those application problems after the 7 days elapses. Okay. After that expires, but you get a 20% deduction. So for instance, if it was 100-point assignment, the most you can get is an 80, and then you get any deductions that might come off of there. Still worth your time. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, the 7-day grace period. I still want to accept that. I still want you to do that work, even if you weren't able to get it in that 7-day grace period. Does that make sense to everybody? Additionally, once you're outside the 7-day grace period for application problems, you don't get to make corrections. So you just live with the 20% deduction and then any additional points that may come up. Okay. So questions about those. I will, every single time we get together, I'll always talk about the calendar, where we're at. If we're in a 7-day grace period, you'll always know where you're at as long as you kind of, look at the calendar and then always ask. Yes.
So, the due date is Friday, how do we turn those in?
Oh, so every due date that you turn in, they'll all be on Canvas. So for instance, you will be doing hand calculations, okay? But then you can take pictures. What's really nice, if you have the Canvas app on your phone, you can either scan it, you can do a PDF, but you can also upload just photographs of your pages and those go directly up. So I find students like that. You also can, if you wanted to, some students will download them into or put the pictures into like a Word document and hand it in that way. It's really up to you, any one of those. And we'll talk about that when we get there, but it's always going to be online. And I do prefer that. Even if you're in person, you might be like, can I just give this to you? Oh, it's so much easier for me to have it online. Then I don't have paper I have to try to keep track of or lose or not keep track of it. So I really like it online. And then I can also mark up right on the, whether it's the PDF or the picture, I can put my notes right on there and you can see them, right there on the document. So I think it works really great. So all of it's going to be online except for the in-class tests that you take. Those will be like paper and you'll hand them in to me physically. Other questions on applications or practice problems? Yes.
So is this like a midnight turn off for both the grace period and the due date?
11:59. Yeah. So it goes away. So for the only ones that really go away before the end of the class are going to be the practice problems. Those are going to expire. So after their 7-day grace period, those you won't be able to submit anymore. And then you'll see those go to zeros, which kind of stinks. But the application problems will stay open. What I do on those, and it'll make more sense when we kind of get into it. Let's say you get beyond the 7-day grace period with an application problem. Your first attempt, I'm going to put a 0 in there. Okay. So your grade is going to look kind of low there for a little while. The second attempt, which would normally be corrections within the 7-day grace period, the second attempt then will be, you'll still have the opportunity to hand in on a second attempt. And then that'll be the one that gets your 20% deduction. Does that make sense? The reason I do that is for twofold. Number one, it gives you a better reflection of where you're at. If I wouldn't put the grades in till the end, Canvas is only giving you a grade on what you've submitted. And so sometimes it may look like I've got, a B going, but you haven't handed a bunch of things in. And if we're, to the last week of the class, you really don't have a B, right? So I put those zeros in along the way, not to penalize you, but to give you a better reflection of where you actually sit. Additionally, it usually lights a little fire under people to get that in because they don't like to see that low grade. At least I wouldn't. So that's why I do it. So if you're ever wondering, why is this on here, or why did she do that, or what, how does that work? You can always ask me, text me, email me, ask me in class. Okay. And I'll let you know. I always expect you looking at your grades as well. Does everybody have, just out of curiosity, do you guys all have the Canvas app on your phone or immediately available? Yeah, I'm seeing most everybody nodding their head. Excellent. Because that way you can be checking. I expect, and I put everything in Canvas to be completely transparent with all of you. Watch, because if I enter something in incorrectly, or, let me know, because I make mistakes too. It doesn't happen very often. I try to be really careful, but it can happen. So your eyes are on there and making sure it all makes sense. And then the midterms and the final exam, there's going to be one attempt each. By that time, like I said, you've had practice problems, you have application problems. It'll be scheduled. You'll know when that is. Only excused absences are considered eligible for a makeup. Okay, so you have to let me know ahead of time if you're not going to make it, and it happens. That's okay. Makeup exams must be scheduled within 1 week from that exam date. Okay, at an agreed upon time by the instructor, and you as the student are initiating getting that scheduled. If you don't come to the exam or the midterm, and you did let me know, I'm not going to be emailing you saying, hey, you have an exam to make up. That's on you to get the mutually agreed upon time. So it's always better to come if you absolutely can. And things come up. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are good reasons why somebody wouldn't come, but in the event, then we got to kind of figure out within 1 week. If that 1 week elapses, a 0 will be recorded. Okay, so again, it's on you to initiate that. No work will be accepted after the final due date of the class. Okay, so inside our class, if you would, I have built in some flexibility so that you can kind of play around with that 7-day grace period. But when we get to the end of the course, I have to cut it off. Okay, so our last day is going to be our last day. Any application problems, practice problems, or exam that aren't submitted will be graded as 0, and then they're going to be calculated into your final grade. This is just I'm going to say a non-scientific observation. I've taught for a lot of years, and I've taught this class the entire time. I love statics, probably my very most favorite class that I teach. Actually, yeah, it's the favorite. Students who attend class on a regular basis are here all the time. Hand in your work by or really close to the due dates. You get the highest grades in my class, okay? Because you're going to be on task. You're going to be ready for the next thing to come up as we build. If you get behind, I assign a lot of homework. I'm just going to tell you, I do. This is a foundational class. I feel it is really important. If you know your statics like this, okay, you are going to be really, comfortable in the next classes. And that's why we do a lot of repetition in here. It's an application of math. And the best way to know math is to just keep doing it and keep getting different looks at it. So in statics, I do that for you guys. So it's important to stay as, on task every week with the assignments and the modules because then it's gonna benefit you in the long run, not only in this class, but going forward as well. Okay. So try as hard as you can to stick with those. I know life happens. You have a bad week. You have a bad 2 weeks. The flexibility is in there to account for that. And if you get to the point where you're like, I don't know if I can finish this, don't just throw your hands up and say, I can't do this. I'm going to drop. Come and talk to me first. Okay. Because things like seeing you in class, you're meeting the due dates, you're working hard. And if something just happens in your life, I would much rather statics gets put on the back burner than something else that's more important. Okay. And in the event that it is something that comes up out of the, that's unusual, then we'll talk about extensions, but extenuating circumstances, that's the key there. And also, if you're not handing in, or if you're handing in late, or you're not coming to class a lot and you ask for an extension, I go the opposite way and say, sorry, I don't think those aren't extenuating circumstances. Those are, I just wasn't staying on task. Okay. So let me know. Don't just throw your hand. Don't think that Kelly's not going to understand. I always try to make a way to help you out, but it's a two-way street. Okay. So that's that. Any questions about that kind of stuff? Yeah. All right. Learning environment etiquette. And I'm not going to read through each and every one of these, but there are a couple important ones. Number one, be ready to work when class starts. Okay. So my expectation is we're starting at 5:30. We're ready to start working at 5:30, and I start promptly at 5:30. Okay. If you are virtual, make sure that you have a working webcam. Okay. Because again, for the reasons that I said earlier, come to class with any pre-work done. And I don't often assign things outside of class. But there could be a first time, but especially if, for instance, you weren't able to make a class, make sure you watch the video from the previous class before you come to the next one. Be respectful of others, refrain from chatting when other people are asking questions or when I'm talking, okay, so that everybody can actively learn. Stay on task during our lecture time and lab times for obvious reasons. During open work time, keep conversations. I don't mind you guys getting to know each other. You're probably going to be noticing the same people and especially your program classes as you move along. And that's a nice aspect about the programs that we have here at WCTC. You got kind of small classrooms. You kind of see the same people. So you get to know each other. So I expect you guys to talk and converse, but just keep things in a professional, if you would, or a respectable way. Let's keep things like religion, politics, sex, race off the table and not talking about or anything else that causes angst, okay? Because we want to make sure that we have a very inclusive learning environment so that everybody, feels good about what we're doing. Feel free to ask questions whenever they come up, even during my demonstrations. Like I said earlier, yes, I'm recording, but I want the things that you're, thinking about and asking to be part of the lecture because it makes it better. It really does. Help your fellow students when you can. No swearing in my class, okay? If it slips, it's no big deal, but please keep it, again, respectable. When you get out in industry, you're going to find that you're going to be working in engineering departments, and that is going to be a place where you don't hear that stuff as often. Maybe some places are different than others, but truly you want to present yourself in a professional way. And part of that is the language that you use. So we're going to practice that here in the classroom as well. And then always apply the golden rules. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. If you're noticing somebody struggling, but you got that and you can help them out, it's always welcome for that. You can always ask me too. Okay. So that's that. Personal electronic devices, you certainly can have your phone. I'm not going to collect the phones and not have them available. You can bring laptops to class if you wanted to work on that. But I ask that you stay on task. And if you have your phone, if you remember, if you don't and it slips, no big deal. But if you could put it on vibrate, that would be great. And if you need to take a call, sometimes you do, just take yourself outside and take it outside. You don't have to ask me permission to leave or anything like that. On that subject, if you need to walk out or use the restroom or whatever it might be, you don't have to ask me permission. You are all adults here. And so just come back when you're ready to rejoin us. Additional just kind of policies, what else do you need to know? Like I said earlier, course extension, there aren't any extensions past the end date of our course. Make sure that all your work is in by that time. Due date extensions. I don't give extensions on due dates because there is that built-in 7-day grace period. So with that, then just know that I'm not going to, you still have, for the application problems, you can still hand in, it's just going to get the 20% deduction. Okay. Communication outside of the class, you can contact me via email, text, and I kind of consider Canvas a place where we have everything housed, if you would, for the course. It says no guarantees of, this is kind of an older note, no guarantees after 8 p.m. or weekends. You probably will get a response from me after 9:30 because every night I'm working until that time. So if you do end up texting me on a night that you don't have class with me, I'll probably return it at that time. This one was mostly when I didn't have class every night. Cheating. If you're caught cheating in my class using somebody else's work, you will be withdrawn immediately. Now, everything you're going to hand in is, for the most part, there are a couple things sprinkled in along the way, but for the most part, you're going to be handwriting things out. Okay. So even if you copy somebody's work, there's probably going to be something that you pick up along the way. But if I kind of start to see like same answers are coming up and they're both wrong, but they're the same thing, I might be a little suspect of cheating going on. Okay. I'm going to tell you, I don't look for it. I don't have my eyes open like I'm scrutinizing everything. It's only when it becomes obvious is that I question it. It's only happened, and I'm sure it's happened more than I know, but I've only caught it a couple times throughout my career. And I think that cheating usually happens when you're trying to meet a due date because otherwise they're not going to accept the assignment, right? You got to get it in. Hopefully by the 7-day grace period, I've eliminated that. So that's one reason that you shouldn't have to cheat. And I also feel that when you're signing up for classes like this is something that you truly want to know. And I also want to tell you, statics is something that is the foundation for a lot of different things. If you cheat yourself here, you're going to struggle in it. And it's not going to, it's going to be a struggle in the next classes that you take as well. So, so please always come and talk to me if you're struggling with something and you feel like you're up against that expiration of the 7-day grace period and you don't want to lose points, just come and talk to me and we'll figure it out. Okay. And if in those cases, I don't want anybody to resort to cheating. Okay. I always like to say this too to students, because because of the reasons that I just said. I'm always thinking people are wanting to learn this. If I catch you cheating, you're not good at it. Okay. So, because I'm not looking for it, it's obvious. That's my whole point. Okay. So please don't do it. Please don't do it. I think that the couple times that I caught people cheating and I approached them, I think I was more hurt by it than actually they were. I don't think they really cared. But anyway, uh outside of class work. So so even though we're meeting for, I think we're meeting for 10 hours a week. Yeah, it's an 80-hour class. We're meeting 10 hours a week. You can expect work outside of class. Like I said, I do assign have I think a pretty good amount of work for you guys to do, and that is for your benefit. But we don't have, for me to explain things, go over practice problems, and get application problems done, we don't have enough time in class to get that all done. So the expectation is that for every hour that we're in class, you can't expect anywhere from 2 to 3 hours outside of class. So for instance, if we've got a 10-hour class that we're meeting inside of class, you can expect 20 to 30 hours outside of class. Okay. That's an associate degree level rigor, if you would. I don't think I assign that much, okay? But there might be some weeks where there's a little bit more work to do, and you might be spending more time, and other weeks there's not as much, okay? It all depends on where we're at. Some things come a little bit easier, some things not as easy. So so individually even it's gonna range, but expect outside work outside of just the 10 hours that we do. Virtually live Zoom sessions, please see the calendar for that. Those are always going to be on Fridays. Now, I will tell you this though, because of the time of the year that we're in right now, I do exercise the option, as I said earlier, if there's kind of bad weather or, somebody, if you don't feel comfortable coming, I might switch it to a virtual class. Maybe school doesn't cancel, but it's maybe to our benefit to all kind of be at home. I'm going to kind of use that discretion. So watch any announcements during the day that might switch a class, especially with inclement weather, from being on campus, being broadcasted from the classroom to being virtually live. Okay. So just be aware of that. Just out of curiosity, I'm not exactly sure of your schedule. Do you guys have anything right before this class on Monday and Wednesdays? I'm seeing you do. Okay.
Besides work.
You have work. Okay. All right.
Work.
Virtually, do you guys have any classes? I mean, it might be if you're,
Work.
I'm not exactly sure what the schedule is. Yes, no? Okay. All right. So for the most part, it seems like the majority of people, if that switch happens, you may be at home or close to home. So rather than having to go off campus, you said you're on campus before this class?
Yeah.
Oh, till 3. Okay. All right. So you would still have time to go home if you needed to. Okay. All right. So anyway, so I just want to kind of like alert you to that just because of the time of year. If it's any other time of year, then, I'm always here, but it has happened a couple times. All right. And it's nice that we have the option of Zoom, to do that with as well. Lecture recordings, as I said, I'm going to be recording the lectures all the time. This one will be posted in the syllabus area, and the recordings will be available once I close down Zoom, because we're recording through Zoom. It is expected that if you don't attend, as I said earlier, that you watch the entire recording. When we get out of the syllabus here, I'll show you in the modules where you'll find the recordings. And then, like I said earlier, check your email every day before you come to class. Not a bad idea. And then the rest of the syllabus here are kind of like boilerplate, where you can get help here on campus at WCTC. We have a really good academic advising area. If you're in calculus or in physics, a lot of those gen ed classes, even the communications classes, they have some really good resources to help you, tutors and, with homework and stuff like that. So feel free. Our class, not as much, just because it's more focused on the program stuff. So you can always contact me as well. I'm always here to give you some extra help and guidance. And as we go down, this is a rough schedule of, how we're going to be moving through. So for instance, our first week here, we're going to be looking at module 1, and this is just going to be a math review, making sure we're all on the same page. And then we're going to really see content starting with module 2 I'm going to say static specific kind of things. And then I'm kind of targeting right now, 5th week, where for when the midterm is going to be, but again, exact day, I will, I'll get that out on the calendar in you know, about 2 weeks ahead of time. And then during our last week, probably last meeting, we'll have our final exam, which will be comprehensive. Are you going to see things from module 1 or module 2? Maybe not specifically, but like I said earlier, this builds. Stuff you're doing in module 2, you're going to end up doing again and kind of continuing, you know, as we go along. So you will see things, you know, comprehensively there. And then spring break is going to be the week of March 17th to the 23rd. And then your next term begins March 24th. Okay. So, syllabus wise, any questions at all? Excited? Doesn't look like it's going to be fun. It's going to be so good. All right. So let me go back. We're going to, then just kind of take a look here quick at what Canvas looks like. So over on the left-hand side are kind of like all the different areas. And I know that you've had Canvas classes before. So underneath the syllabus here, you're going to find the Zoom link. So you click on the Zoom link, and I think you might have to click 1 or 2 other things, and then it gets you right in. When you get in, it won't be open immediately. Once I open up, there's like a waiting room, if you would, and then it opens up and then I let you guys in individually. So, so you just kind of wait out there until I get you in, and normally it'll be about 10 minutes before class starts or so. So know that I'll be coming. And then, immediately under that are the modules, and the modules are where the information for the class is. So, for instance, if we look here, I do have the McGraw-Hill Connect resources. You don't have a class or a textbook to buy. It's actually in the course here. It's actually right here, the McGraw-Hill Connect. And we'll look at that in just a little bit. But there is a little video here about getting in. And I think it's pretty simple. But if you did have any questions and you wanted to view that video, you certainly may. But then starting after that, we've got module 1, module 2, module 3, and in each one of the modules, you're going to find a learning plan. The learning plan is going to give you insights of what we're going to be looking at. So for instance, looking at chapter 1 in our textbook, it's really kind of mostly outside of the textbook, but you're going to have practice problems and application problems then to also do for your grade. Additionally, right below that, you're going to notice that there's module 1 session recording. So if you know that you missed something during module 1 or module 2, this is where you can look for the session recordings. Now, because I taught this last year, I have the recordings in there from last year. And the reason I keep the previous years in there is in the event, you know that I'm not going to be here next week, Wednesday. Okay. Then what you can do is you can do some pre-work, and you don't have to wait for my video to go up. I can say, oh, look at the second video that's out there, and that'll give you the information we'll be covering that day. So if you wanted to look at that ahead of time, you certainly may. But I will be populating hours, like if you would, on the top of the line here. So the ones below the line are from last year, 2024. The ones that we're going to have here, we're going to be the actual lectures that we do here. Again, same class, same stuff. It's just that, you know, it might vary just a little bit on the front end or the back end of the videos of where we end or start. Okay, so those will be out there at the end of class after we adjourn. And then your practice problems are going to be here. Practice problem are going to be the list of the things that we're going to be doing that you will be following along in my lecture, you know, taking the notes, getting the formatting, and then handing in. And if we click on that, you're going to notice that the first one has a lot of information, and we'll talk about that a little bit later because we're going to be looking at these tonight. But then these are going to be the problems that you're going to be doing for this module for the practice problems. And it's really just a math review. And again, we're going to be going over those. So that's going to be your practice problems. And then your application problems are going to be very similar. So if I click on this, then you're going to have an assignment sheet of the problems that you're going to have to do. And then you're going to hand these in using the information that you learned from the practice problems, formatting, all that kind of stuff to hand in your application problems. When you look at the application problems here, you're going to notice that they have a date for both the practice problems and the application problems. So January 24th, which is this Friday, is when they're going to be the set due date. And then the same rules, I have them all set up where you get the 7-day grace period and you can still hand in. And then you're going to notice how many points that they're worth. Okay. Every day when we get together, I start on the calendar so that you know exactly where we're at with due dates and we can kind of look ahead and you'll know exactly what to expect. Okay. So I'm throwing a lot of information at you right now. And for many of you, it's the first time you've had me, but know that I'll keep you abreast. And then you're going to see that very same format for module 2 and module 3. I try to keep things very consistent in my classes. Okay. So at this point, does anybody have any questions module wise? All right, a little bit more to go through. So McGraw-Hill Connect, this is your e-textbook, okay? So to get that, all you're going to do is you're going to click on the McGraw-Hill Connect, and at the top here, you should see Go to My Connect section. And when you click on that, because you're enrolled in this course, I have it, synced together. This is where your textbook is going to be. If you go down on the page and over on the right-hand side, it says Launch ebook. This is what our book looks like. You're going to click on that. And then this is going to be the book. Up in the left-hand side here, there's the table of contents, and you can go to the chapter and or section that you want to do. Now, the reason I picked an ebook, and some people love it, some people aren't crazy about it. I understand. So the reason I pick it is the most economical way to get a textbook. If we would want to get this textbook in hard copy, or hardcover copy, it's like $278. It's ridiculous. Okay. I don't think any textbook is worth that. All right. So here's the e-version. You will have access to it throughout the course. Now, if you indeed wanted a hard copy, but you obviously don't want to pay it that much, I did mention in my announcement, and I'm going to kind of hold this up so that virtually you guys can see, they have the loose leaf version of the book. The only thing that you need to do, you can get it from the bookstore. It's about $40, I think $36, $38. It's not a hard cover, but you do need a 3-ring binder to put it in. So if you did want a hard copy of the book, that would be, how you could get it. So, so totally up to you. All right. But so that's, and if there's any other handouts that we need outside of the book, I make those for you guys. So, and then have them available in PDF format. So that's how we connect to the book. So has anybody gone in and looked at the textbook just yet? Yeah, you have, and you were able to kind of connect pretty easily to it. Okay. If you don't, let me know right away. In our first unit here, we don't use it. And that's kind of by design, not so much for this purpose, but if we would have a textbook to buy, sometimes people drag their feet a little bit the first week getting textbooks. So I try to be a little lighter on things out of the textbook the first week. But if you are having any problems connecting to it, you want to alert me right away, and we want to get that figured out and or contact the help desk. Okay. So I'm going to go out of here. So that's going to be the McGraw-Hill Connect. And then you're going to notice that you have your grades. Now, if I click in grades, you're going to see everybody's name, and there are no grades right now, but you would see my grade book. And so I don't want to go in there. But you're going to have a place where you can check your grades. Actively do that. Okay. Because again, I expect that, no news is good news for me. And I think everything is accurate. And there's quite a few grades that I have to put in. So make sure that they make sense to you. And then beyond that, I think there isn't really much to look at. So any questions right now about Canvas and how things are set up? It's like a long time. What time is it? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break because you probably need to get up and just stretch your legs a little bit. So it looks like it is 6:36. So if we say we'll take a 10-minute break. So why don't we say 6:46, I guess. That'll give us 10 minutes. 6:46, 6:47. We will get started back up again. Okay.